Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for coming along here today on a very frosty morning. I hope you have all had a reasonably peaceful journey here. I had a bit of a difficulty in traffic this morning. My name is Paul Boyle and I'm one of the programme managers with SEUPB. I'm going to hand over to Declan to take you through the proceedings today, and I'm just going to cover some of the logistics. The bathrooms are just outside on the right-hand side as you come out. If the fire alarm does go, it is not a drill, it's a fire alarm. We have to congregate in the Tesco car park across the road. We have Wi-Fi codes on the table if you want to access any of the Wi-Fi. We've also used name badges today, and we have dots on those name badges to signify if you're looking for someone to partner with in a project proposal. Today is as much about you having the opportunity to network, and we would encourage you to do that. We have boards dotted around the room and post-it notes where you could put up your details. We also have a virtual partnership finder on our website, so you could forward your details to us and we could make them available to others. The slides will be available afterwards. Today is being recorded, and the recording will be uploaded 7 days after the event. So, in terms of jotting down all the slides and stuff, you don't need to be concerned. They will be available afterwards. The agenda is also on your tables to help follow proceedings today. We're relatively tight for time in that we have an event in the afternoon, which some of you may or may not be attending. But lunch will be available out in the atrium shortly after the event today also. So please take the opportunity to network and get to know some of the people in the room today. Without further ado, I'll hand over to Declan McGarrigle, the Interim Director of the Joint Secretariat, to go over today's proceedings and take you through the first set of slides.
Good morning, everyone. And just to reiterate what Paul said, you're all very welcome. I know it's a very cold day, and some of you have travelled quite far to get here as well. So many thanks for making the journey. Today's a short session, really. It's about introducing the investment area that we're going to talk about today, which is investment area 3.1, around shared learning together, shared education. And it's the informal element. There'll be a further workshop on Thursday for the formal schools part of that investment area. So it's really, just to give you a sense of what it is today, it's to give you some context on the PEACEPLUS programme and this particular area of it. How we've arrived at this point where we're standing in front of you today and ready to start the engagement process in terms of starting to develop your applications, starting to develop your partnerships, and what you need then leading up to the call for applications opening, which will hopefully happen over the next number of months. So it's giving you an overview of that, and then also introducing my colleague Myriam Fearon, who's at the end of the table there. Some of you may be familiar with Myriam, who's providing support on some of the other areas of the PEACEPLUS programme in terms of pre-application support. So Myriam will give you an overview of the support that she can provide as part of your journey through the project development process ahead of the call for applications opening. She'll also talk as well about how you can build a strong proposal and all the various elements of that. And we've introduced a new process for the PEACEPLUS programme, which is the concept note, and this happens before the call for applications formally opens, where you submit an application form. So the concept note you can do from this point forward, and you can send it through to Myriam, and she can review it and provide you feedback on that, and provide you with some one-to-one support as well. We'll also have some questions and answers today, so I would ask you to store up your questions. We're going to try and get through some of the information that we have and want to impart today in terms of what this investment area is about. So please make notes of the questions that you might want to answer, and we'll take those at the end. would also like to introduce our colleagues as well, our important colleagues from the government departments, who are what are called the accountable departments for this investment area, and that's Andrew Bell from the Department of Education in Northern Ireland, and also Paula Keatley from the Department of Children, Equality, Disability, Integration and Youth. So Paula and Andrew are very welcome, and they'll also take you through some presentations and some information in relation to their own departments and what their policy asks are. And because again, that's something that's really important when you're developing your application, that you're aware of that wider policy context that your application and your project will fit into. So in terms of the programme itself then, just to give you a little bit of a sense of the context and where we've come from over the last number of years. So the PEACEPLUS programme has been developed really dating back to 2018, and we entered into a fairly intensive process of engagement with citizens, with key stakeholders, with our government departments, and also the European Commission. So there's been support there from the Northern Ireland Executive, the Government of Ireland, the UK Government, and indeed the European Union as well, throughout the last number of years. The programme itself, you'll see a lot that's familiar. There's a lot of familiar areas within the new PEACEPLUS programme. So it is very much building on the previous good work of the PEACE and Interreg programmes that are currently in operation, the PEACE 4 programme and the Interreg 5A programme. Of course, this time round, there's going to be one single programme, which is the PEACEPLUS programme. So it's really a combination, a focus on peace and reconciliation and peace and prosperity, but also the wider economic and territorial development of the programme area of Northern Ireland and the border counties of Ireland. So as I said, there was an intensive process of review, research, and of course stakeholder engagement during those years in the lead up to the pandemic, and then also during the pandemic as well. We had a number of consultations that hopefully many of you were involved and engaged in that led towards the programme then being developed in the various themes and investment areas that we now have. There was a public consultation in 2021 which really rubber-stamped the themes and investment areas that came forward. And again, you can find some information on that on our website if you're interested in finding out more. And of course, as I said, that important engagement at the bilaterals with government departments north and south, including our colleagues here today, has been important as well in terms of agreeing the information that ultimately will go into those call documents and also what's in the programme itself. So the programme area, as I said, is Northern Ireland and the border counties of Ireland, but you can see at the bottom there, we do welcome and encourage partnership from partners outside of the programme area where it can add value and benefit. So again, that can be further south on the island of Ireland or elsewhere as well. So that's just something to note. That's the same right across the PEACEPLUS programme. The programme value is in excess of €1 billion, so really significant investment from the European Commission and indeed the Northern Ireland Executive, the Government of Ireland and the UK Government. And as I said, there's 6 themes, 22 investment areas, and there's a wide range of different types of projects. And we really would encourage you to look at the programme overview document that's on our programme website if you haven't already done so. So yes, we're here today to talk about this investment area in 3.1, but there's opportunities in all of those different areas right across those 6 themes and 22 investment areas. There's small-scale projects as well as the larger, more strategic projects, which we're obviously focused on and we'd like to talk to you about today. So when I say small-scale projects, there's still projects that are up to €100,000 in terms of the budget allocation. So you need to look at these different investment areas and where potentially the idea, the project that you have may fit. So you can see theme 3 in terms of the central element and the central pillar of the 6 themes in the programme itself, and it's about empowering and investing in our young people, and that's where 3.1, the investment area 3.1, sharing the shared learning together education programme and the informal element. That's where that sits within the architecture of the programme. But as I said, if you look at theme 1, you'll see the local action plans that councils are currently out developing with citizens at the minute. And again, we would encourage you to get involved in that process, and depending on what local authority area you're in. So that's about local projects, local activity, and about peace and reconciliation. But there's a range of other areas there, in terms of shared spaces, under theme 1, more regional level projects in terms of partnership with 1.3, and of course those small scale projects that I referred to as well under 1.2. And you can see the other areas. I'll not go through these in any great detail, but it's just really to point them out. In terms of theme 2, in terms of delivering socio-economic regeneration and transformation, range of different areas in there around skills, for example, and SME support. And then, of course, we've got theme 3, and we've got a workshop later on youth mental health as well. And we've also got investment area 3.2, which is around children and young people, the Peace Youth programme. So again, that renewed focus that I talked about in terms of our young people and investing in our young people. And in the final 3 themes, theme 4, healthy and inclusive communities, collaborative health and social care, cross-border projects, rural development and regeneration, and also a focus on victims and survivors. Theme 5, supporting a sustainable future, which is about really the response in terms of some of the issues that obviously are there at the minute in terms of climate change, around supporting biodiversity, around water infrastructure, energy, and also transport. And then finally, theme 6, which is building and embedding partnership and collaboration, about strategic level projects between institutions, between organisations, around obstacles that are there because of the existence of the border and challenges that are there. So we're in planning. And then also that investment area 6.2, which again is around small scale projects, but on a cross-border basis. So projects again up to €100,000. So just useful just to show you where the element that we're talking about today fits into the architecture of the programme, and also to point out some of those other areas that you may wish to look at. The other thing that's useful, I think, to just know is the project life cycle. Some of you will have been involved in projects before and will be very familiar with how this all operates. But it's a useful slide just to show you. So obviously we're at the top there in terms of the pre-development, the pre-application stage at the minute. So we haven't opened the call formally where applications can be submitted yet. But today is about introducing the support that's there at that pre-application stage. So you want to be elaborating on your project idea, coming away from today feeling that you've got more information on that, and then engaging with Myriam in terms of the concept note itself, if you're proceeding on to that. And also as well, Paul's referred to the need to get partners, whether that's on a cross-border basis for these projects, or indeed a cross-community basis as well. And then when the call opens, then we move into the more formal stage in terms of project development and application. So it's about actually writing the application form then, submitting that to SEUPB. And then you move on, if you are successful, into the contracting and startup, and then through to the implementation stage of your project. And normally those projects last a number of years. You'll have a budget, a set of activities, work packages, and you'll have to develop an implementation plan to deliver what's been agreed in your application form. And then, of course, then you move on to project closure. So it's just useful just to give you that sense of what that project life cycle is, particularly for people that haven't been through it before. So today is about theme 3, and it's about the investment area 3.1, shared learning together education programme. So that's really what we want you to focus on today and to look at, and for us to give you the information on it. So at this stage, I'm going to welcome our colleagues from the 2 government departments that are here today to provide an overview of their own policy positions and strategies. So I'm going to welcome Andrew Bell from the Department of Education in Northern Ireland. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everyone. It's nice to be here and to have so much interest in terms of this particular call. I'm from the Youth Work Policy team within the Department of Education, and the purpose of this part of it is really to provide you with the context within which you'll develop your policies. So in preparing for today, what I've sought to do is to provide you with a high-level overview of the policy perspectives that are relevant to this particular call in 3.1. And I hope you'll find that useful as you go to prepare your applications if you get to that stage. So what I aim to cover today is a little bit about the department, its vision and priorities, the background to our work in shared education to date, along with other colleagues within the department, a little bit about our role as accountable department so that you understand where we and the colleagues from the South are coming from in relation to this programme. And then finally to point you to policies and strategies which you should be at least taken into consideration as you develop your applications. So that's the plan. So firstly, a little bit about the Department of Education. The Department of Education is one of 9 Northern Ireland departments and has responsibility for setting the policy, strategy and for the central administration of education and related services in Northern Ireland. Our remit includes early years, schools and youth services, and the department also has leads on the delivery of the Executive's Children and Young People strategy and also the childcare strategy, which is currently being developed. So as such, we cover ages from birth right through to 25, so quite a wide range. A little bit then about the programme for government, because in common with all Northern Ireland departments, our work is governed by the Executive's Programme for Government. And a key focus for an incoming executive will be the publication of a new programme for government, which will outline the executive's priority and give clear strategic directions to policies, programmes, services and actions of individual government departments. The programme for government begins with this draft framework of outcomes, basically statements of societal well-being, which taken together are intended to capture those things that experience and research tell us matter most to the people of Northern Ireland. There are 9 interrelated outcomes on this draft framework. It's very similar to the previous programme for government, so we don't expect there to be too much change around this. And the Department of Education's work is largely focused, but not solely, around the outcome our children and young people have the best start in life. And that's about ensuring that children and young people grow up in a society which provides the support they need to reach their potential. It includes accessing high-quality education to equip young people with the skills to make the best life choices, ensuring children and young people have good health, quality physical environments and space to play, opportunities for artistic and cultural expression, and also to make a positive contribution to society, as well as protection from violence and harm. It's within this context that within the context of the programme for government, that DE's corporate plan for 23 to 28 sets out the strategic vision and direction for the department over the next 5 years. And the department's vision is that every child and young person is happy, learning and ready to succeed. And to note that this, at this stage, is a draft corporate plan. It's due to commence on the 1st of April this year. The department is currently finalising this plan, drawing on responses to a public consultation which closed in November 2022. So therefore, the plan's content may change slightly, but any amendments are not expected to be significant. And you can find access to the draft plan as well as the final plan when it's actually published on the department's website, which is up there on the screen, www.education-ni.gov.uk. A little bit about the draft corporate plan, and it sets out 5 strategic priorities to help guide the department towards achieving its vision. And these are championing all our children and young people and the positive impact of education on all aspects of life, helping our children and young people where they need support for their learning and well-being, inspiring our young people to make a positive contribution to society, meeting the learning needs of young children and young people and developing their knowledge and skills, enable them to fulfil their potential, and delivering an effective, child-focused, collaborative, high-quality education system. So one of the commitments there is inspiring, and under that inspiring strategic outcome, what we're seeking to do is to encourage more children and young people from different backgrounds to engage together, building societal cohesion and learning to understand, respect and celebrate difference. And to achieve that includes encouraging and facilitating and promoting shared education through the expansion into youth services, as well as the continued support of the shared education programmes within schools and early years settings, and also continued progression of our shared education campus programme, where they're bringing schools from different community backgrounds together on the single sites. So it's within this context that the PEACEPLUS investment area is being developed. Just a little bit then, moving on to the background in terms of shared education in Northern Ireland. So we're governed in Northern Ireland by the Shared Education Act of 2016, which states that the purpose of shared education is about delivering educational benefits to children and young people, promoting effective and efficient use of resources, promoting equality of opportunity, promoting good relations, and promoting respect for identity, diversity, and community cohesion. What I put on the slide here is the legal definition within that Act of what shared education is. But you'll see there it's about those of different religious belief, including reasonable numbers of both Protestant and Roman Catholic children and young people, and those who are experiencing socio-economic deprivation, those who are not. And it's about working together and cooperation of two or more relevant providers. So it's about bringing those individual providers on a cross-community basis into the same space, allowing those young people to interface with others that they might not get the opportunity otherwise to do. And the Act places a duty both on ourselves as a department and our delivery partners, the Education Authority, to encourage, facilitate and promote shared education, and alongside other named bodies to consider that as part of a wider policy and operational framework. The legislation specifically states that the delivery of shared education includes youth services, again, hence this call today. So PEACEPLUS will provide an opportunity, we see, of firmly embedding shared education into youth work practice. I think this comes up in parts, this slide, so I think that's it all. There's been significant progress made in progressing shared education to date, particularly across schools. And youth work supports shared education through providing valuable opportunities for young people to build upon their school-based learning, to learn new skills, to develop new relationships, and develop themselves as citizens. This slide provides an overview of the envisaged long-term delivery of shared education, working towards a point where it is mainstreamed and fully embedded right across the Northern Ireland education system. And simply put, it's about the process of shared education becoming normal, accepted practice in all education settings, early years, schools and youth. Mainstreaming is being taken forward on a phased basis. And the first tranche of established shared education school partnerships have already begun the transition to DE-funded mainstreaming as of September of 2022. With a lot of work happening with schools around this, and indeed the Peace 4 programme in shared education, a lot of the work on that has helped embed shared education within the school system, and what we're hoping is that this call will do exactly the same in terms of youth settings. So while shared education is already a feature of youth work, the department and colleagues in the SEUPB and colleagues in the South are seeking to further embed shared education across the youth sector. So over time, the aim is that, and I will caution, subject to available funding, as with all government departments, the existing Peace 4 and planned PEACEPLUS programmes will converge also into this mainstream environment across formal and non-formal sectors. So this call creates very much unique opportunities to embed shared education within youth work. Just a little about the department's policy on shared education. So we recognise the value of youth work as an educational process within the department. For a great many children and young people in Northern Ireland, the opportunities for friendship, for meaningful relationships, the acquisition of youth skills and the growth of confidence and self-esteem which youth services provided. And we see that as a very vital element of lifelong learning process. Youth work in Northern Ireland is informed by our policies for youth policy, which was developed in 2013. We're moving into the stage of reviewing and updating that policy, but that sets out the strategic aims of youth work in support of the department's vision. And in Northern Ireland, the age range for youth services is 4 to 25, with the priority ages ranging from 9 to 13 and 14 to 18, and that's where a lot of the youth work actually happens among those age groups. And the youth service has also developed a non-statutory curriculum, which the department has endorsed, called the Youth Work, a Model for Effective Practice, and that provides a flexible framework for the delivery of good youth services. And again, you can find that if you Google a model for effective practice, it'll turn up in any search engine. Turning to our role then as an accountable department, alongside colleagues in the South, we've been an accountable department and a match funder for previous PEACE funding, including PEACE 4, which supported 2 shared education projects, Sharing from the Start, which was in preschool and early years settings, and the school-based collaboration through Sharing an Education project, both of which have been very successful in bringing preschool and schools together under shared education. And we will again act as accountable department and provide the match funding for the PEACEPLUS programme. For 2 of the 3 areas under Theme 3, as Declan's outlined, there are 3 areas. So we're responsible as accountable department for 3.1, this morning's shared education learning focus, and then again what we're covering this afternoon in terms of 3.3 with youth mental health and well-being. And as Declan's already mentioned, that this has meant working alongside Southern colleagues and SEUPB in developing the programme, ensuring the agreed programme themes and investment areas are in line with departmental policies and requirements, as well as agreeing the text for the call for applications document, which will be published in due course by SEUPB. The department will also attend and represent the department's position at the PEACEPLUS Steering Committee, which takes final decisions on successful project applications, and we also act as an advisory capacity for the Programme Monitoring Committee. The department also undertakes a financial management role, including providing cash flow for the relevant programmes, ensuring that the grant is provided to SEUPB is delivered in line with the Northern Ireland public expenditure and EU regulatory requirements. And the objective of this non-formal call, as we've been discussing, is around providing direct, sustained contact between children and young people from all backgrounds through collaboration between and within youth organisations, and also promoting good relations and enhancing children and young people's skill to contribute towards a cohesive society. So you'll be glad to know I'm nearly finished. So what I'm going to do is point you towards some of the policies which you may wish to look at in relation to being relevant to this call. So alongside the Shared Education Act, as I've already mentioned, there are a range of other DE policies and strategies which you would be advisable to take account of when you're looking at developing your applications. And these include the Children and Young People Strategy, which aims to improve the lives of children and young people. Priorities for youth, which I've already touched on. Again, there's further detail around that. A Fair Start, which is a new executive and departmental strategy around aiming to address persistent educational underachievement, and includes long-standing issues facing, for example, working-class Protestant boys in terms of education, and it promotes a whole community approach to education through a place-based focus on individual localities where the greatest concentration of educational underachievement lies. Sharing Works, which is our policy for the department's policy for shared education, and that sits alongside the legislation, and that sets out the core components of shared education and how it should work in practice. There's also recently published the mainstreaming shared education strategy, which was developed on a co-design basis with key stakeholders and involves being involved, and it launched in September 2022, and that sets out the long-term vision, which I've given you a quick overview of. So again, there'll be further detail in there which you might find useful. And all of these are available on the department's website using shared education as a search engine. They're also, just to mention, the Developing Shared Education Framework for Youth Provision Partnerships, which colleagues in the Education Training Inspectorate helped us develop for youth settings, which is specifically about how you address shared education within youth settings. And that sets out various questions which actually help you assess how well you're doing against shared education and what you might need to do and where you can identify the gaps. And that should also be helpful in terms of developing this call. Other complementary policies and strategies which are relevant to this call include the Executives Together Building a United Community, which reflects the Executive's commitment to improving community relations and continuing that journey towards a more united and shared society, which we're aiming for. And also the programme on paramilitarism and organised crime, and that's about creating safer communities which are resilient to paramilitarism, criminality and coercive control. So again, there are elements of those programmes that would have some relevance to your applications. And again, any of these you can find through any search engine if you just Google the titles of those. So that brings me to the end of my part. We'll be dealing with questions and answers later if there are any. But can I just wish you every success in developing your applications for this programme. We look forward to receiving them.
Thanks very much, Andrew, for that very comprehensive presentation. And just a reminder that the presentations will be available afterwards on our website as well, as indeed the video will be in seven days' time. So I'd like to welcome Paula Keatley from the DCEDIY, quite a mouthful, but Paula, you're very welcome for your presentation.
Thank you. Morning, everyone. I hope you can hear me. As Declan said, my name is Paula Keatley. So I'm from the Department of Children, Equality, Disability, Integration and Youth in Dublin. So the department, we really appreciate the opportunity to input today's workshop in respect of the relevant youth policy landscape and our own vision for youth services in the South. Just for the sake of absolute clarity and I suppose for context, the formal accountable department for 3.1 as a whole is the Department of Education in the South, because it falls under that education area. But my department holds the policy mandate for youth services, and so we've inputted to the drafting of this call from that perspective. We don't have a formal, or we don't have any sort of dedicated shared education or shared learning together policy in the South. So I suppose we've addressed this from the point of view of what we want for young people and what we want for youth services and non-formal youth opportunities. So I'll just talk us through briefly just how this fits in with my department overall. So it's a mission of the department to enhance the lives of children and young people, among others, recognising diversity and promoting equality of opportunity. So investment in youth work and related non-formal development opportunities is an important part of that mission. Given the acknowledged role of youth work in supporting young people, supporting them to develop their potential, to overcome adversity, and to become active, informed, and included citizens. This role of youth work is recognised at an EU level, just taking account that this is an EU programme, at an EU level by the EU Youth Strategy, to which Ireland has signed up, which notes that youth work in all its forms can serve as a catalyst for empowerment. Youth work brings unique benefits to young people in their transition to adulthood providing a safe environment for them to gain self-confidence and learn in a non-formal way. Of particular relevance to this investment area is the evidence that youth work is particularly beneficial in supporting what this strategy refers to as intercultural competencies in young people. And this has been borne out by the success of the Peace for Youth programme, which was supported under Peace 4, where there's now clear evidence of youth work methodologies supporting good relations skills in young people and building bridges between communities and across the border. So this non-formal call, 3.1, is an opportunity for the wider population of young people to benefit from these approaches. Apologies, sorry. And for this reason, this department has welcomed that there be a dedicated focus under PEACEPLUS on shared education within youth settings. So the call aligns with the department's policy on services for young people across a number of areas. The department's policy, this policy is structured around the 5 national outcomes as set out in our national policy framework for children and young people. So our aim is that all children and young people are active and healthy with positive physical and mental well-being, are achieving their full potential in all areas of learning and development, are safe and protected from harm, have economic security and opportunity, and are connected, respected, and contributing to their world. So of particular relevance to this non-formal call is outcome area 5 around, including young people from all communities, connecting them with each other and with their wider community. But participation in youth programmes, supports young people across the range of those outcomes. The investment area also aligns with the objectives of Ireland's former National Youth Strategy, which commits to the provision of accessible, responsive, non-formal opportunities for young people aged between 10 and 24. Now, this non-formal call, the age, I'll let Myriam speak to the age range on this because it's not exact, doesn't exactly align with that, and I suppose that's as part of the compromise when you're working across a number of jurisdictions and the EU as well. But it does align mostly with that. And then also relevant is the strategy's aim to ensure young people's equality, to celebrate their diversity and to promote their active citizenship. Okay, more broadly than that, the department is committed to supporting certain approaches for all those working with young people as reflected across a range of our policy documents. So these are, I'll just skip forward there, These are a focus on realising positive outcomes for children and young people, a clear sense, we want to support services where there's a clear sense of the link between the activities being delivered and the intended outcomes. Investment in quality, in evidence-based approaches and sustainable services. Support for collaborative, cooperative ways of working, youth services working together, youth organisations and all those working with young people working together to deliver outcomes. And then meaningful inclusion of the voice and views of young people in the design, delivery and evaluation of services, and that's reflected in our National Youth Participation Strategy. So these themes, you will see these themes or various versions of them in the call document once it's published, so we would encourage you'll need to reflect that and show how those will be delivered by your organisations or consortia. We also, as a department, supported the inclusion of the opportunity for cross-border exchange programmes under this sub-theme. And this was based on evidence of the success of the former Causeway programme, which provided opportunities for young people and for youth workers from Ireland, Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland and England, allowing them to build relationships and explore issues of identity and diversity. And was quite successful and effective for the young people involved in that and for the youth workers. And this programme now has been discontinued, but we consider that the PEACEPLUS funding was the ideal opportunity to facilitate this, but albeit restricted to North-South exchanges. Now, I'm going to mine was much shorter because Andrew took on the hard labour of setting out the broader context. So I will leave it there, but I'm happy to take any questions, or please do come up to me if you have any, if you want to discuss any of this during the networking session. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Paula. So there will be an opportunity again just for questions towards the end, and of course, ourselves will be about during the networking lunch. So please do stop us at that point if you've got any other questions. So I'm just going to invite Myriam Fearon up now. Myriam is working on behalf of SEUPB to provide the support from this point forward in advance of the formal call opening So really, it's a really useful resource to engage with, and she'll provide one-to-one support as well as obviously take you through the concept note process. So over to Myriam, and she'll set all that out in a moment. Thank you.
Guys, I just want to start by saying I'm particularly happy to be doing the pre-development support for this area, which is shared learning together education. We'll maybe start by just looking at the detail of the investment area itself. So the specific objective for this area is to provide direct, sustained contact between children from all backgrounds through collaboration between and within schools, early years settings and youth organisations to promote good relations and enhance children's skills to contribute to a cohesive society. So what that will result in is an increased number of children, preschool, primary and second level, those engaging with youth services, teachers, principals, practitioners and youth workers engaged in sustained partnerships with those from different community, social, economic, cultural and political backgrounds, okay? And all of that designed to give everybody the opportunity to build a more peaceful, prosperous and cohesive programme area. So colleagues have outlined that there are, under this particular investment area, there are two calls. One is about formal education, which is involving schools, and the one that we're focusing on today is about non-formal education, and that is youth-focused. Okay. So, in terms of what this particular call seeks to achieve, we want to see the non-formal education of those from diverse communities. And what that will mean is youth-to-youth shared learning programmes delivered by youth organisations, which are co-designed by young people and youth workers. So such non-formal programming should incorporate cultural awareness activities and opportunity for significant and sustained contact, including the development of cross-border exchange programmes. And really the key message, and I will be repeating it throughout my presentation here is today, this is of course about youth exchange, but our focus, this is the PEACEPLUS programme, and as such our focus is on cross-community and cross-border youth exchange. Okay, so in terms of the young people that we hope to see engaging in the programme, and colleagues have outlined this already, we want to see a diverse group of people, so reasonable numbers of both Protestant and Catholic communities and other communities as well. So those who are experiencing socioeconomic deprivation, those who are not, young people who are experiencing learning difficulties and could benefit from additional supports. But really the message is here, we want to see the diversity in our society and in children as a group represented in this programme. We want to see everybody involved. The expectation that, there will be a good split in terms of both the border counties and Northern Ireland. And in Ireland, that will be an 80-20 split, and in Northern Ireland, somewhere between 60 and 40. Okay. So in terms of the scope and range, I think a key message to take away today is we are looking under this particular non-formal call for projects of scale. So projects that encompass all actions, and in this case we're looking at youth organisations, but your project must be designed to deliver a significant, if not all, the output indicators included in this call. And I'm going to bring you through those in a moment. But we are looking for large kind of strategic projects. We're also hoping that those projects will look to address local issues of strategic importance to the region. Okay. So, in terms of the scope and the range, again, so delivery and development and delivery of youth-to-youth shared learning programmes within the non-formal sector, youth work capacity building. So the emphasis here is not only on people and young people engaging in youth services, but we're also looking for this programme to benefit youth workers themselves through collaboration and sharing of best practice. Okay, so in terms of what, the extent to which we want contact, in terms of youth workers, We're looking to build capacity which enables youth workers to facilitate shared learning together programs, which probably represent a minimum of 1 term within a single academic year, so a number of months of collaborating. In terms of participation for young people, we are looking at a minimum of 30 hours per year, okay? The age range is between 9 and 25 years. So in terms of how that 30 years for young people could be achieved, there's flexibility in that. That could be an hour a week. It could be a number of residentials. So that's not prescriptive in terms of how you would achieve that, but we're looking for a minimum of 30 hours contact between the young people involved. So PEACEPLUS is a result-orientated program. So just to give you an overview of what the output and result indicators for this particular call are. So overall, 21,893 participations, that's young people in youth settings in shared learning together programs, and 319 participations of youth workers in the same programs. And that will result in 16,420 young people completing the program and 239 youth workers completing the programme. And that can look quite formal. We are working in a European framework and using their generic indicators, but it's really about the contact and that time between the young people and the youth workers. Okay. So as I've outlined, the indicative actions are those shared learning together programmes for young people, the collaborative youth working between, or the working between youth workers, actions and you know how those activities can be complemented. We are looking at kind of innovative approaches. So certainly the use of technology, and particularly if that can be used to sustain and develop relationships between young people. Awareness raising dimensions so that you are promoting the benefits of shared education in the normal sense. Developing and learning. So we are looking at the overall education sector. So if there are any innovative approaches that can be used across the formal or informal that you think could be useful here, we're very happy to look at how you might incorporate those. So hopefully that gives you an overview of the programme, and there is more detail within the concept note itself, but that gives you an overview. I'm now going to just give you take you through how the pre-development support process works. And having been involved in programmes in the Peace Programme for a number of years, I do think this is a really good step forward in terms of working with applicants and making things easier for you and developing better applications. So we'd really encourage you to engage in the process. So, in terms of what we can be doing and what this process is for, Declan has mentioned there is a networking dimension to today. Certainly this process is being used, and there are other calls as well, where people are using this process to look and seek out partners, and we will do all, and I will do all I can to assist with that as well. But there is a concept note, and I'm going to bring you through what that looks like. Don't worry, it's very brief, but you have a chance to articulate your project using that concept note format. Send that through to me and get some, good considered advice that will hopefully help you. In some cases, it may be, and we are finding this in some of the other pre-development support workshops and processes as well. This may not be the right investment area for you or your project, but I have more of a knowledge. I mean, I know that program pretty well by now, Declan. So if it's not the right area for you, hopefully I will be able to signpost you to where your project would better fit within that program. But basically, once you send in that concept note to me, I will consider it, and I will get in contact with you to provide you with some more detailed kind of specific support and advice to you, which will hopefully help you to kind of further develop and strengthen your project. So, from today, any organisation interested in becoming a lead partner under this area may complete and submit a concept note for comment, advice and support. So, The concept note itself covers it's kind of like a headline overview of what the application will look like. But it's very succinct. It will kind of encourage you to really think through and work out your own project concept. But just to be aware, it's not a formal application and it's not scored. This is all about advice and developmental support. Okay, so I'm just going to bring you through now, what the individual headings are, and just to give you a bit of advice at this stage in terms of the types of things that you need to be completing. There are some additional kind of guidance notes attached to the back of the concept note, which you can look at yourselves. So the uncompleted form is very short. It's 3 pages. You are invited to provide high-level project details across 6 questions. And you have about 500 words. Now, obviously, there's no word or character count, but I would really encourage you, if you can, to try and stick to that 500 words and keep this as a very headline overview, because it benefits you, but it also benefits me in terms of the advice I can give you. If anybody wants to give me a call in advance of filling out that form, very happy, and I'm doing that currently. So if you want a bit of advice before starting to look at it, you want to run a couple of things past me in advance of doing that, please feel free to do that. You can return the concept note to me by the 16th of March, any time on that day, to the address there, and I will follow up with everybody. And I mean, to think of me as a good kind of intermediary between yourselves and SEUPB, because I will be liaising back and forward with them regarding kind of the types of ideas and concepts that are coming through. Okay. So let's just have a look at the 6 questions. So the first is really telling us about your project, how the need has been identified. So what's the rationale for your project? Is there any data you can use to evidence that? Very, very important, not just to give us an overview of that project, but to really show, and I know this sounds obvious, but you must really bring your project and root it back into what the aims and objectives of the 3.1 investment area are. I think it's also important, and the 2 accountable departments have given you a wealth of information here today. It is available on those slides. I would go back and look at the wider strategic context as well, and how your project would align with regional policies and strategies is good too. Okay, so the second question is about the outputs and results. So I've taken you through there what the result and output indicators for this particular call are. We need you in this section to tell us, how many of those result and output indicators your project will entail, and how you propose to achieve those result and output indicators. Okay. So how many participants will be involved in your shared learning education programme, and how many participations in youth training schemes? So how many youth workers will be involved as well, and over what period? Okay. So in terms of the third question, that's really looking at the cross-community and cross-border dimension. And any project coming through under this call must incorporate both a cross-border and a cross-community dimension. So we need you to tell us what geographical area that you're going to be covering, and how your project is in practice cross-border in terms of staff, being jointly staffed, being open to users on both sides of the border, and having a shared approach. So it's been, designed, and there's been input from partners on both sides of the border. Okay. Question 4 is about duplication and displacement. So we found out, and even listening to our colleagues this morning, in terms of what investment in youth services there are in Northern Ireland and in the border counties of Ireland. So it's important that these are standalone projects. They're not duplicating any existing provision. So you need to outline to us how that's the case, and that how any potential issues of that nature could be mitigated. Okay. So question 5 is about your team, your partnership, and how you're going to implement your project. So who will be working on the project? Who will the staff be? What will they be doing? Are they suitably qualified, and are they experienced to deliver on the project? Something I think often people come forward as a team, they know each other, and they know what they're bringing to the project, but it's not always clear to someone who's reading that application. I think it's very important to outline why your partnership has been developed, what individual partners are bringing to that particular project. So I would encourage you to really draw that out. What are the practical arrangements to support smooth project implementation? What are the management arrangements? Is this a tested partnership? Will all the appropriate policies, procedures, particularly important in youth services, so safeguarding, etc. So are all of those in place? And as outlined, we are looking at projects of scale here. So just be mindful and thinking and articulating to us how you will financially manage what will be a large scale financial project. So are there sufficient cash flow systems in place, etc.? Okay, so the next question is about value for money. So there's a total of 10 million available under this investment area. We are asking you for a very high level budget in terms of the concept note. So you'll be able to do that, I would imagine, relatively quickly. But what I would encourage you is value for money is a significant scoring criterion under this programme. It's very, very important. So just be assured that you are designing your budget on the basis of achieving maximum value for money in terms of staffing, activities, etc. Okay. By the time of the application, obviously, you'll go into that in much more detail, but just, be thinking of the value for money dimension now. So just a word of advice, really, for people who are considering taking on a lead partner role, and I'm sure there are people in the room who have already done that, but just to give you a sense of what's involved in that and what the responsibilities are. So the lead partner is responsible for the coordination of the project. They submit the application. They assume responsibility for the smooth implementation of the entire project. They coordinate all partners and activities. They financially manage the project. They're responsible for submitting the claims, etc. They report. They oversee and manage, and I think it's particularly important in a result-orientated programme, they oversee the monitoring and evaluation of your project. They're responsible for the overall communication internally in terms of the partnership with SEUPB, the funder, but also communicating the benefits of the project to the wider public as well. Training and policies and procedures as well. So it's quite a considerable role. And in short, if you adopt the role of a lead partner, you're accepting overall responsibility for achieving the project. Okay. So just a few things to bear in mind. So this is a great time in advance of, we're starting to build up the momentum for this call opening, but this is a great opportunity to take the time to really start to build your partnership, more clearly develop your project, speak to other potential applicants, and I think important, and we've got a really strong representative group here, but be thinking about, even avoiding duplication among yourselves, taking kind of a joint up approach. Be realistic, don't bite off more than you can chew, and really consider the scale at which, the departments and SEUPB are looking for these projects to be, and just be mindful that you can deliver on that. Again, just thinking about the finance, the clarity of purpose, and just how you will achieve the result and output targets that you are undertaking, okay? So, in terms of the timescales, so The pre-application support process starts today. So as I said, you can download the concept note from today. I'm available for any calls in advance of you starting to work on that or afterwards. But once you submit a concept note to me, I will aim to provide you with feedback within 15 days of that date. And then we can assess between ourselves the extent of any further support you might need after that. Okay? So I am looking forward to hearing from you all. I suppose I've been very lucky over the past few months to do quite a bit of work in terms of consulting with young people about PEACEPLUS in particular, and what they would like to do and what they would like to be engaged in. And I'm being totally honest in saying that they have at times totally blown me away. They have taught me how much I do not know and how much I have to learn from them. So I am genuinely so enthusiastic about this area, and I really, really look forward to engaging with you on it.